Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
What if he's bluffing? Is that out of the realm of possibility? Absolutely not. 100%. Look, there may not be a better propagandist on the planet than Vladimir Putin. There may not be. He lives for this stuff. This is KGB guy. This guy is the guy. He knows where the bodies are buried because he took care of them himself and buried them himself. So what if the world's scrambling and focusing on him? It's just something he wanted to do. It's more about tearing down from the inside, which is a lasting effect, than tearing down from the outside, which gets everybody pissed at you and brings people together. What if this was not all it seemed?
Russia's defense ministry has said troops from its southern and western military districts that are massed near Ukraine will begin returning to base today, having completed what it called exercises. Russian state media is airing video it says shows tanks pulling back. There are still Russian exercises happening in neighboring Belarus and the Black Sea. It's still too early to say, but if confirmed, this would potentially be a sign pointing towards de-escalation. Patrick Reevell, ABC News, Lviv, Ukraine.
What if? It's a fair question to ask. Now, all that being said, he is still a guy who's gone into Georgia, 2008, 2014, Crimea, both during the Olympics. He's also not one to be trifled with in that sense that he knows what he can and can't do. He's not an idiot, right? But the guy knows how to play a game that many others just don't. They just don't. They come at things in a much different way. I mean, just all you do is look at their skaters. Look at what's going on in the Olympics right now. Look at the fact that they shouldn't even be in the Olympics. Their goal, like everybody else's goal in China and everywhere else, is to win. The goal is to win at all cost. And that's kind of the game that he plays. Do I think he's going to invade? Well, I don't think he can come back empty-handed. He needs some sort of thing that says he has won something. But the reality is there are things he needs in his mind in the Ukraine, one of which is a path to Crimea. To the actual, yes, they've got Crimea, but they do not have the pathway to get to the place where they need to get to, which is the bay. Right? The port. They need to get there. They don't have that. He's great at bluffing because he's invented much of the game. So the what-if scenario, I think, is real. Now, will this get ugly fast? It's a possibility is there. World leaders are paying attention. They have to. Because much like the what if this is a fakie, what if it is a fakie and he sends some of his people home and while that's happening, the others attack? That's also a scenario that you have to pay attention to. That's the beauty of what he is doing. You don't know. And quite frankly, I'm sure at times he's not quite sure what he's going to do, old Pooter.
World leaders around the world are trying to figure out and decipher those mixed messages from Moscow. On the one hand, those signs of a possible military de-escalation on Ukraine's borders. On the other, a move to annex parts of Ukraine in Moscow.
Yeah. Other people are saying this is all part of a plan to de-escalate from the inside the Ukraine. To have the Ukraine start to fall apart from the inside with fears of what may be coming and trying to get to the people in Russia using a propaganda tool of just absolutely flooding, fire hosing, as they would say, everything and anything they can information-wise in the Ukraine to see the crumble start to happen from the inside. Some are saying, you know what? That's part of it. And then the other part will actually be the taking, annexing portions of it. Nobody knows. What they do know is it's his move. And he may take two moves. One of which may be sending people home, and the other which, at the same time, may be some sort of attack. Zelensky came out yesterday, who's the president of Ukraine. Of course, he came to fame on the whole Trump thing and Hunter Biden and all that stuff. He said that they had heard that it was going to be the 16th, so Wednesday, tomorrow, that the attack was going to come. They had heard that that's when it is. I don't find him to be that kind of guy that's going to alert the world that he's coming on this day. Just not his thing. It's not. But if you believe it, then that's a win for him. If you're thinking about it, then that's a win for him. If he plants a seed of maybe and doubt at the same time, that's a win for him. That's the way the propaganda game is played. But what? But no, but is it? You're thinking about it. And if you're President Biden and you're playing the game of I'm not quite sure what to do, which is kind of what everybody's doing, they don't know. So you have to plan for everything.
The Biden administration for months has been preparing for a range of scenarios should Russia take military action against Ukraine. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan in November commissioned what the White House calls a Tiger Team, a major interagency planning effort that's included exercises testing the administration's response. The team is focused on humanitarian assistance, embassy security, diplomacy efforts, sanctions, and cybersecurity. The White House says it continues to work for a diplomatic solution to this crisis, but officials say a Russian invasion of Ukraine could come at any time.
Because they don't know. They don't know. And that's everything that Putin wants, is you don't know. And that's why in today's modern world, there's nobody better at propaganda and misdirection. The Chinese are amateurs to Putin. Putin doesn't have the military might. He doesn't have the fiscal might of China. But what he does have is something that is so much different. A perfect example is RT, Russia Today, right? That right there is the online news platform you can go to. And what they do is they put in 85% of regular news has nothing to do, and smattered throughout is propaganda. How big are they? They blow CNN out of the water, Fox out of the water when it comes to online reach. It's little things. They spend tons of money in places that you wouldn't think. They hire people here who then hire other people here. It's like a drug deal, right? So you arrest the kid on the street that's selling the dope, who gets it from another guy who's selling the dope, who gets it from another guy, but at the end of the day, nobody knows who the guy is. It's a game of telephone, but with drug, and you're not quite sure. That's how you sow the seeds. And he's done it. Masterful move. Now, what will happen? The world awaits. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. It's going to be very interesting to see what takes place. Do I think that he's going to attack? He's got to come back with something. The one thing about the pooter is you can't leave and come back with nothing. He'll say, at this point, he could say, look, they're not joining the NATO's. They're not going to join NATO's. At this point, that's kind of a win, but it still hasn't met the ultimate goal. So do I think he's going to attack? I think he's going to try to annex a portion of it. Do I think he's going to go all the way into Kiev? I don't think he's going to do that, because I think he realized the optics of that and the potential of killing tens of thousands of people along the way would be too much for him to handle politically, even in a place where he rules with an iron fist, because the world will come down on the country in such a way that it'll eventually bankrupt them again. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot of stuff to get to today, including the Olympics, because the fallout continues with the insanity of the Olympics and the fact that, yes, she is still in the damn Olympics when she shouldn't be in the freaking Olympics.
Because she's 15, they basically gave her leniency. And the Russians, so you could certainly make a case that the Russians, diabolical as they are, state-sponsored doping, the worst since East Germany 50 years ago, that they knew that they would, with a 15-year-old, that she would get off easily. And so that's what CAS did. I think it was a terrible decision.
Absolutely. Christine Brennan there talking about the Valieva decision. We're going to talk about that because we've had people chime up over here about this. Well, this is why was Shuri Richardson banned from the Olympics or whatever, and something like this happens. And also, I can look at a 15-year-old who, you know what, she's not being raised by mom and dad anymore. She's been raised by the Russian Olympic Committee. Do I think this girl knew what was going on? Probably not. But it also goes to show you all of the insanity that goes on in a world where propaganda, continual pushing of lies, continual pushing of certain things will continue to award people until people stand up and say, we've had enough. We've had enough. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. We'll have more on that. Truckers, the insanity of the truckers and the people that have come out against the truckers, including their own government, who are pissed and angry, but also the establishment media. And the new slogan for anything that people don't like is January 6th. We'll touch on that. I find that to be just bizarre in the way that anything that they don't like now. It's like racism, right? If everything's racist, well, how can everything be racist? Because if it is, then nothing's racist. From Joe Rogan to the truckers to January 6th. Hell, even at one point, tying in Rwanda. That's the insanity of this. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the programming. Love hearing from every single one of you. Calibrate. It's about losing weight, people, but it's about the fact that many people have to come to the realization that no matter what you do, right, you get to a point where you're going to need help. And I'm not just talking about an extreme diet. I'm talking about an actual help in a way that you think you would never get. An FDA-approved medication. It's going to pair you with lifestyle changes. It's going to help you lose not just pounds, percentage of body weight. That's huge. And that's massive. What it does is it helps you with a metabolic reset, helps your body understand that being lighter is better. It doesn't freak itself out. The whole thing with your metabolism is when you start to lose weight, your body steps back and says, we're dropping at a level that we feel uncomfortable. You must conserve all this food. We're going to slow our metabolism down. That's not good. What you need it to do is be comfortable down there so it resets itself at a lower weight, which is great for you. Over 20 years of research has gone into this, and it shows that it can improve metabolic health, drive long-term, sustainable weight loss. Its earliest members on Calibrate have lost well over 20% of their body weight, and they're ready to help you right now. One-on-one video coaching, in-app tracking, a video doctor visit. It's easy to do, fits in anybody's lifestyle, no matter how busy you are. Your weight doesn't reflect your willpower. Get back in control. $50 off a one-year metabolic reset right now. Use promo code CHAD at joincalibrate.com. That's $50 off when you use code CHAD at joincalibrate.com. Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what? So, while everybody enjoyed the game on Sunday, I love the overnight numbers. Tell you how big the game was. Gambling was massive. People were at home eating chips and dip and enjoying themselves. But those chips and dips, well, we already know they're getting more expensive. But avocados, maybe more expensive?
The president of Mexico says there is a conspiracy afoot to keep Mexican avocados out of the U.S. On Saturday, the Department of Agriculture suspended all Mexican avocado imports. This after a U.S. safety inspector in Mexico received a threatening phone call. Mexico's avocado industry has been targeted by extortion by drug cartels, and the Ag Department has warned it would stop imports if the safety of its inspectors was not guaranteed. But Mexican President López Obrador claims unspecified political or economic interests had conspired to stop the imports.
Oh, Mexican. That's right. So here's the thing. It comes from one area. That's the only area that we get avocados, Hass avocados from Mexico. One state. Maricon. All right. So what's happening there is The cartels, in particular, the Jalisco Nueva Generación, the CJNG, is one of the most 5 dangerous transitional crime organizations in the world. In the world, not just in Mexico, in the world. They realized, hey, man, they're making billions selling avocados. It's not even illegal. So let's take it all. So you have a battle of avocado growers and farmers and the cartels fighting over this. Extortion, kidnapping, etc., etc. And then we get, quote unquote, this phone call. And this guy's like, no, can't do it. So the actual State Department says, no, we're shutting this thing down. And of course, over the president's like, hey, this is a bunch of crap. You guys have avocados over there. You're trying to drive up prices for your farmers, etc., etc. But you have problems over there. We all know that. So what will happen? I don't know. I don't really eat avocado, but I will tell you this. The battle for all the good businesses over there is very real. And that's the sad thing. Not only do the drug cartels own the border, they want everything in between. If you've got a trucking business, they want it. If you've got an avocado business, they want it. If you've got a candy business and it's profitable, they want it. And this is where, if you're Mexico, what do? Because looking at your government to help is not the answer. I think we all know that. And that's sad. So for now, avocados going to get more expensive. Think about that when you get into, you say, you start an avocado farm, it gets big, you're making money, it's lucrative, and you end up in the middle of a turf war between drug cartels who don't want your area to bring people through in drugs. No. They actually want your avocado farm. It's insane. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. More on crazy Russia. Not only doing whatever it is that they're doing in the pooter, but also what's going on in the Olympics. Plus, January 6th is the new racism. Yeah, this is fantastic. How people get to this point, don't know. But man, they can make some leaps. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We're just talking off the air. There's a guy in Texas, Dennis Hope, who has none, by the way. He's serving 80 years in prison for not murder, by the way. He didn't murder anybody. For a series of armed robberies that landed him in solitary confinement. In 1994, he eluded capture after he escaped from prison for 2 months. He stole a car at knife point from an 83-year-old man. He robbed 4 grocery stores. He has been in solitary confinement, confined to a prison cell that is 9 feet long, 6 feet wide, smaller than a compact parking space. It's 3 steps to the door, turn around, 3 steps back. His only human contact, listen about this, right? Like, I'm all for punishing people if they've done something wrong. But I'm just going to say this. There's a difference between California, which is like, hey, you're wanted for murder. We're going to release you on your own recognizance, and insanity, and cruel and unusual. This is cruel and unusual. His only human contact is with guards who strip searched and handcuffed him before taking him to another enclosure to exercise alone. He's had one personal call since 1994. His mother died in 2013. He is suffering from depression and paranoia and fears he's going insane. The fact that he's not insane at this point would be more shocking than anything. Last month, Hope asked the Supreme Court to consider whether such prolonged isolation can violate the Eighth Amendment, which bars cruel and unusual punishment. Prison officials in Texas, well, they're not too concerned. They told the Supreme Court that they waived their right to respond to his petition seeking review of his case. Hope versus Harris. My goodness me. That, to me, is nuts. Texas, by the way, for those of you not keeping score, is the leader in the clubhouse with solitary confinement. More than 500 prisoners have served more than 10 years in almost total isolation, and 138 have served more than 20 years. I get, like, you have the Nazi lowriders and the Aryan Brotherhood and several other gangs, the Mexican Mafia and stuff, and you separate these guys and you put them in areas where they have zero contact with the outside world because they're not only committing crimes inside a prison, they're orchestrating stuff outside, of which it's drug trafficking, murder. That I could see. That I could see. When you're the head of a mafia, right? Like, you're not letting El Chapo hang out outside. Understandably. It's crazy, I'm telling you, though. Think about that. Spend a day in your bedroom without leaving. And think about that. Spend a day in your bedroom. Now think about spending 27 years in your bedroom, and the only contact you have with the outside world are people who are going to strip search you, handcuff you, to take you to an area where you get a little sunshine to work out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. The new thing in today's modern world of politics for the establishment media in the left is January 6th. Anything that they deem to be bad is January 6th, right? January 6th. What? Yeah. Here's a perfect example of two January 6th that are nuts. First, let's start with the New York Times. Always fun. Paul Krugman, thinks a bright guy, but definitely lives on the left side of an aisle, has a opinion piece out called "When Freedom Means the Right to Destroy." He paints the picture about, first of all, the truckers in Canada and their anti-vaccine demonstration. That's not what it's about. Going to go over this again for the 1,000th time. It is not about the vaccines. 90% of them, as which he even talks about in the freaking article, are vaccinated. It is about mandates, the exhaustion of the overreaching government. That's what it's about. It is not about vaccines. It's about this ridiculousness of government coming in and clamping down in ways where you just shake your head. We've talked about it. Hell, the other night, Mayor Garcetti, remember him, the guy that doesn't breathe? He's at the game without a mask on again. I walk around the office now. You're supposed to wear a mask here. And I'm just like, I'm at the Super Bowl. I'm at the Super Bowl. But it's stupid, right? It is absolutely stupid. It's asinine. But he compares it to, again, he draws that comparison to January 6th. He says the Freedom Convoy has been marketed as a backlash by truckers angry about COVID-19 vaccine mandates. In reality, they don't seem to have been many truckers amongst the protests at the bridge. About 90% of Canadian truckers are vaccinated. Oh, there wasn't a lot. The reality is there was only a few trucks. You don't need 1 billion trucks at the bridge. You only need a few. Right? So that alone, right? Like, let's take away Ottawa and the insanity there. Let's just look at this. Oh. So this isn't a grassroots trucker uprising. It's more like a slow-motion January 6th, a disruption caused by a relatively small number of activists, many of them right-wing extremists. At the peak of demonstrations in Ottawa, reportedly only 8,000 people were there. Oh, I see. So it's now a slow burn to January 6th, because that's the easy thing to do. Right? First of all, you're getting all of the things in you need. January 6th is right-wing extremists, white-wing extremists. So you got the racism card there, right? It's a hatred of Trump. Oh, yeah, because that's a big thing. That's a big thing. It's a hatred of Trump. And he goes on to talk about a bunch of other stuff, and look, I have said, and I'm very consistent in this. If you cause me to get home later than I should be, if you cause me late for my gig, traffic, if you want to go and protest in certain areas, go ahead and knock yourself out. I've never been a big protest kind of guy. That's not my thing. I understand why people do it. I understand why in the past it was relevant, but when you start blocking traffic, it drives me crazy. One of the things they talk about is how much does this cost? Not just them, but us. $300 million per day? Maybe. That's an interesting number, he says, because it's roughly comparable to insurance industry estimates of total losses associated with Black Lives Matter protests following the George Floyd protest, which is completely disingenuous. I pointed out last week that Minneapolis alone said it was $500 million for Minneapolis alone. Let's go back and see how many people have died in the trucker protest. If you answered 0, you would be correct. Disingenuous BS. That's what it is. It's disingenuous. You're lying. That's not real. St. Louis, Los Angeles, San Francisco. Let's talk about what it cost Seattle and the Chaz, whatever the hell it was. But once again, invoking January 6th is very important. You move over here. Joe Rogan. Why shrugging off Joe Rogan's use of the N-word is so dangerous? As we all know, CNN just doesn't know what to do.
Well, I admit I'm out of ideas for what to do about Joe Rogan. I'm officially out of ideas.
Allison Camerado. Not a shocker. We didn't think you had a lot of ideas. You don't come. I don't look at you and say, it's an idea person right there. I'm out of ideas. We've done everything. We've tried to brand him a racist. We've tried to brand him anti-vax. We've tried to brand him a Neanderthal, all of these things. It just doesn't seem to work. It doesn't. But this is what I love. So article that they changed the title of it because they threw January 6th in there. Why shrugging off Joe Rogan's use of the N-word is so dangerous? And they had to change it because originally that wasn't what it was. What I loved was, but what Rogan and those who defend him have said since the video clips of him using the N-word surfaced on social media is arguably just as dangerous as what a mob did when they stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Because it adds all the things in that you want, right? If you're on the left. It's the buzzword. January 6th, insurrection, Donald Trump, racism, extremism. That's what it does. It's a long article showing, everything from Michael Richards to Morgan, Wallen, the country star, and it goes down. It even gets to the point where they start to tie Rwanda into this. Rwanda. For those of you guys don't know what Rwanda was. 3-month period, maybe a little bit longer. Hutus, Tutsi. Hutus were the extremist. Tutsis were the minority. Lots of people killed. How many? Some people say 800,000. It's probably closer to 1 million or so. It was absolutely vile. Right? But they tried to tie that in to this. It says in the article, what triggered the violence and part of were the messages that came from the people in positions of power. Many, like Rogan, have a public megaphone and an audience. January 6th has become that new, just like, everybody says, oh, when Trump says something or when so-and-so says something, it's a dog whistle. January 6th is the dog whistle for the left. January 6th is the dog whistle for the left to go Trump, racism, extremism, anti-Semitism, whatever needs to happen at that point, January 6th has become that. From the truckers are all stooges and not real, propagandists, right-wing extremists, Nazis, to Joe Rogan is essentially January 6th, and because of that, we could have another Rwanda? Is what you're trying to say? Well, no, I'm trying to say is, you're trying to say is, it's great to write something that makes the audience that you are trying to reach feel great, because along the way, you can continue to, prop up your disdain for Trump and say, look at all these things. And it's because of people like Trump that give people like Rogan a platform. Nuts. It's nuts. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot of stuff still squeezed in. We're going to talk a little Olympics. We got some weird Oscar stuff. Could you be a host? What? Oh, yeah. By host, I don't mean an actual host, but you could host a segment where you give out an Oscar. Would you do that? Would you want to do that in front of tens of nobody who doesn't pay attention anymore? Talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
No need to socially distance while listening to your Chad Benson Show podcast. 4 out of 5 experts say so.
I'm a scientist. There is no corona.
But hurry before they change their mind. You know they will. Chad's podcast found on iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, and wherever you find your favorite COVID-free podcasts.
Oh my gosh. I kind of like it. I'm not going to lie.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
An athlete who has tested positive within the last 2 months is competing in the Olympic Games, allowed to compete, and may well win not 1, but 2 Olympic gold medals.
Yeah, Valieva, the superstar, by the way, qualified for the short program. And the rule that they came up with this bizarre sports arbitration court behind closed doors is she gets to compete, but the IOC said, fine, we're not giving out awards. We're not giving out medals. So unless she doesn't win. So if she wins something or even gets on the podium, even if she doesn't win it, but she gets a bronze or a silver, there's no medals. There'll be no ceremony. And eventually, when the decision comes down, and I don't know when that's going to come, the final decision for this Russian 15-year-old, what ends up happening? Well, if maybe they say, fine, you know what, we're going to allow her to win the medal. Or maybe they say, no, we're not giving her a medal. So whoever is, she came in second, well, she's out. So bronze, you're now silver, and fourth place, you now have won a bronze. Gold, it'll be the same thing. Silver, gold, et cetera, et cetera. But your chance and that moment to experience that is going to be taken away because they cheat. Why in God's name are they there? Who in God's name said it was okay? They said several years ago, no mas, you guys are done. You can't compete in any Olympics. And they're like, that's not fair to the athletes. You cheated as a state, as a group, your coaches, your scientists. You cheated as in mass. So you being there and not flying the flag of Russia, it's not fair for everybody else. It's time to say enough.
What should have happened is Russia should have reported this. For example, with the U.S., when there's a positive drug test, they report it and the athlete doesn't come to the Olympics. Other countries, that's how they do it. That's called integrity. Russia, they don't care. They bring them, they fight for it, they move on. What's going to happen is Russia's going to have to be kicked out lock, stock, and barrel of the 2024 Paris Games and the 2026 Milan Games. They're going to have to be banned from figure skating world championships for several years.
Yeah. And that's sad because they're, you're looking at a situation where right? The difference between us, and a lot of people brought this up, and they're comparing her, this young 15-year-old, to our superstar, Shari Richards, who didn't go to the Olympics. Remember, she smoked weed. She didn't go to the Olympics. And there's this, hey, the difference between us and Sha'Carri Richards is we said, you know what? We can't have this. This person tested positive. We have to actually follow the rules of which we set up. Now, I think the Sha'Carri Richards thing was stupid. She smoked weed, but that's the rule. And there are so many rules in the WADA world, which is World Anti-Doping Association, that you could have a drink of a milkshake and it has something you don't know. This isn't a black or white thing when it comes to them. It's again, it's stupid. The World Anti-Doping Agency considers marijuana an abuse and not performance enhancing. The organization admitted it would look into marijuana status as a banned status after she tested positive. Should she have been at the Olympics? Damn skippy she should have been. But we reported something, and they didn't. Because they're Russia. And at the end of the day, they don't care about anything except the result and them winning. And think about that as we look around in the Ukrainian world and what's going on there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program, Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
What if it's not real? What? What if Putin's like, look, let's screw with these guys, right? Let's screw with them. Let's mess with them. Let's get all angry and we'll march some people over there because I don't want them putting stuff right next to me. You know? So we'll act, we're gonna sow division and seeds of mistrust inside the Ukraine. They'll fight with each other. Right? We're going to fire hose everybody in there with information. Doesn't have to be real, just real enough to get people to go, And along the way, let's flex some power and some might, because I have done some stuff in the past. I've been crazy in the past. And let's see if we can get them to back down and maybe give us some stuff. Like, as the little guy over there, little fat guy that's now thin, who can't walk. And he has a nuclear weapon. Yeah, that guy. That Kim guy. Let's see. There he's saber rattles, and they're like, oh, here's some money. Shut up and go away. Let's see if we can do that here.
Moscow is already claiming a victory over what is repeatedly called Western hysteria. A foreign ministry spokeswoman with a characteristically blustery statement has said that February 15, 2022 will go down in history as the day Western war propaganda failed. They've been disgraced and destroyed without a single shot being fired. But that vote sure has made things a little more tense.
Yeah. So what's happening? What is the latest on the Ukraine? Well, they're moving some folk away. That's good. Biden's got his Tiger team ready to roll, which is, everything from cyber warfare to sanctions and who knows what else. But what if this was a big problem? Now, Putin can't walk back to his country without claiming victory. The beauty of geopolitical things is you can spin it any way you want. And nobody in the history of forever has been as spinny as this guy. Like, if you were to look at the Mount Rushmore of people who spin crap, this guy is the leader, and he's the only one on it, really. Everybody else is taking notes from him. And his disinformation machine is massive. It's absolutely massive. There's a great video of a former spy. It's on the old YouTube. It's been out forever and a day. It's like 80s, back when the Cold War was really going. And he's talking about how the Russians go And they use disinformation and how they sow these seeds, and they realize it's just much easier to destroy you from the inside, and get you to a point where you're so weak that then when they do come from the outside, they could take you down. I mean, the entire Soviet Union was built on essentially mistrust. Nobody trusted anybody. Your neighbor could sell you out. Your boss could sell you out. You could sell at your boss. They used lies as a weapon. Why couldn't he have here? Now, he needs a victory of some sort, though. He can't go home and say, I didn't get anything. And what does he want? Well, he wants a portion of Crimea that will allow him to get to the port. Remember, that's we talked to our buddy Mike Lyons a few weeks ago. Former CIA military analyst said that's one of the only two ports that they use their subs at, and the other one is mostly ice. So to get to a place where they can have their subs, where they don't have to breach the ice, is huge. Plus, it's a win for him. And the other win is he needs to make it, we need to make it feel like that NATO's not going to be involved in any of this. That the Ukraine, like the Germans today said, let's not talk about Ukraine, joining NATO. Let's push that to a side. We're not going to talk about that. Why is that significant? Because during our missile crisis, what happened? The Soviets wanted to do what? They wanted to put nuclear weapons or weapons that could strike our shores in Cuba. Think about that for a second. He's saying, you guys want to put missiles on my border? Now, he has jumped before. We all know that. The Pooter is not afraid to get into a scrape. But is it worth it? That's the big thing. Is it worth it? You have to ask yourself. And I'll tell you why. Break this down for you. Keep it simple, stupid. If he is to break off more of Crimea, they're already fighting there. There's Russian separatists there, along with Russian troops, to try to annex a certain portion of it. Our White House, the Europeans might say, it's a small price to pay. Let him have that. But we know he can't give in. But he also knows that if he goes in and he goes deeper and he heads to Kiev, tens of thousands of people who die is not a look that is going to win him fans or adulation anywhere in the world. It'll earn him condemnation, and people will eventually suffocate and choke off any opportunities for them to be part of the modern world. They're going to turn him into a pariah, but unlike China, you guys aren't making anything. So now you're really screwed. You're more like the Eastern European North Korea. Oh, that's not going to be good. It's not. Now it's a sit and wait. All that being said, at any given time, he could jump in and do what he does, which is attack. Because that was the big thing yesterday, right? He was coming in Wednesday. That was it. He was coming in Wednesday. Nobody could stop him. People panicking. What do we do?
World leaders around the world are trying to figure out and decipher those mixed messages from Moscow. On the one hand, those signs of a possible military de-escalation on Ukraine's borders. On the other, a move to annex parts of Ukraine in Moscow.
So, is the greatest bob and weave that we've seen in the last 2-3 decades? It's possible. Or could he be sending people home and then, immediately strike? That's also possible. And that's what he wants you to think. You got to go home with a win. That's the most important thing if you're him. Going home with everything the exact same, the country's going to realize you didn't get anything. But coming home, even with some sort of paper that looks like an appeasement and giving in, will look like a victory, when in all reality, what did you get? We'll find out. One thing's for sure, it has settled some of the market, and that being oil prices. Oil prices are down today, and the reason is simple. They think, it's down almost to $90 a barrel when the talk was, should they attack? If they attack, you could be looking at 120 in no time. And what's that do? That puts really, 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 really big pressure on our administration as inflation's already skyrocketing.
Gas prices have been surging for 14 months, only briefly dipping during Omicron. Demand is back at pre-pandemic levels. Even AAA can't explain that.
They're trying to kind of figure it out right now.
And the conflict on the Ukrainian border is adding a new strain. Russia is the world's second largest oil producer. If the crisis escalates, JP Morgan says oil prices could soar from $91 a barrel to $120.
If we were to see Russia potentially withhold energy exports, the question would be who could make up for that?
And that's a big question. So we'll see. We'll see. And why it matters? Well, once again, you're looking at consumer price jump. Big time. Excluding food, it jumped almost 1%. Right now, the 12-month gauge, right? So from last year to this year, when it comes to the price index, up almost 10%. So when you're looking at a jump in things and understanding that this time last year you're paying 10% less for stuff, and remember, 10% less isn't 10% if I buy $100 in groceries last year, I was paying $100, now I'm paying $110. It is that multiple of things that gets added on. So the core PPI, right, was up almost 1%, double what Wall Street thought it was going to be. That matters because every time we spend dollars, we're getting less and we're paying more. Putting $30 in your gas tank, which normally you may get caught close to filling it up. Now you put $30 in your gas tank and you're like, man, I only got a half a tank of gas. And you feel that every single day. All of us do. And we vote with our pocketbooks. And knowing full well what's coming is a midterm, they've got to figure out how in God's name do we sort this out, and can we sort it out? Because whether all of it's our fault or none of it's our fault, the blame is coming. And people will say, I blame you, by saying I voted for the other person. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Check out the Getter as well. A lot of stuff. We can do a little what's trending straight ahead. Trucker craziness and fun. Wait till you hear what the I don't even know what to describe it. She is the deputy prime minister. But what they're saying they're going to do to truckers is yesterday they came in and said, all right, emergency stuff has to happen here. We're going to talk about that insanity. A lot of other stuff. Whoopi is back. Talk about that. First, MyPillow. Right now, deep discounts on everything that you can think of, from the MyPillow to the Giza Dream Sheets to the amazing mattress toppers to the My Slippers, all of that stuff. And right now, if you order, this is what you're going to get. First of all, you're going to get a 6-day money-back guarantee. Everything's made right here in the United States of America, which is wonderful. Can I just say that? Plus, you're going to get a free book of Mike Lindell and his story, his rise from his drug addiction to the CEO of MyPillow. Take advantage of all of these and all these other amazing deep discounts on the MyPillow products right now. Go to MyPillow.com. Use the promo code Benson when you do. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Helen Keller is a Nazi terrorist that is a male. Is that what you're telling me right now?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of Hitler?
Who's Hitler?
Vaccines work, but only the Chad Benson Show is 100% effective against stupidity.
Do you know what D-Day is? D-Day.
A person? A rapper?
God, Karen, you are so stupid.
Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and wherever you find your favorite woke-free podcasts. This is the Chad Benson Show.
I will say that never, ever gets old.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, lift
Now it's time to find out what's trending.
What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending?
Let's take a peek, find out what's trending on the old interwebs. Start over the magical world of Google. Ukraine, trending. Russia, trending. Kanye West in Super Bowl. He was booed by thousands. Wordle. Don't get it. Don't play it. Wordle. That's all I need to know. Oh, wow, that's crazy. Yep. Trimdazotine, which is TMZ. That is the drug the Russian skater Kamila Valieva tested positive for. People are going, what exactly is it? What exactly is this thing? Oh, yeah. Yeah, what is this? What is this weird thing that this lady tested positive? Is it actually an enhancement? American flight was diverted, and an unruly passenger apparently charged and tried to get in the cockpit, which we've always said will never happen again. It's just never going to happen again. And what happened? They hit him on top of the head with something. They duct taped him, did all that stuff, and then they diverted. I have to be honest with you. At that point in time, once he's wrapped up nice and good, once you go, hey, guys, we're going to make a decision. Everybody hold your hand up. Who wants to just finish the flight, go where we're supposed to, or who wants to throw him off the back of the airplane? No, I mean, we'll divert and take more time out of our day. And people raise their hand, right? Like he's of no harm to anybody at this point in time. And anybody else that's going to do something, they're going to do it anyways. Just saying, throwing it out there. Throwing it out there. Head over to Twitter. PM Trudeau invokes emergency act in response to ongoing protests up in Canada. Oh, for sure. That's about time. Oh, is it? Ooh. Ukraine and Russia. The Ukraine and Russia are trending everywhere. Of course. Why wouldn't they be? Because they are. I love this tweet or this Twitter that's trending everywhere. Scientists and public health experts say vaccines are safe for most people. It's not a winning headline there, kids. Have you noticed quietly that nobody's saying anything about the fact that Pfizer and them have pulled back the emergency authorization that they're trying to get for children under 5? They're like pulling it back. Because doctors like, you know what? You get a little bit older. That's one thing. You're making a decision for yourself. For the younger kids, why don't we hold this thing back a little bit? Just a smidge. Want to do some more research? I am all, look, I got no problems with people getting the vaccine. I got vaccine. I got boosted. I'm getting on with my life. It's not a stupid thing to do. A lot of people think it is, but that's never been my gig. I'm very much a believer in science. I'm also a believer in reality. And reality is that this, you go in the hospitals, most people in there are unvaccinated who are sick, and most of them were extremely unhealthy. All the things they won't tell you. Both sides have a point to play, but they go to the extremes in reality. That being said, children have never been a risk to severe illness or death. Have some died? Yes. But you can go back and say how many kids have died from the start of this in pools? Some 2,000, 3,000, 4,000? Oh, well, that's, yeah. So we're not getting rid of those. We're not getting rid of bikes. They're not a risk. So why would I go and get my child something that he or she's not at risk of getting sick and dying from, and that maybe building up some natural immunity might have a longer-term benefit? Well, throwing it out there. I think it's a fair question to ask. But they could give it to other people. Yeah, but if you're vaccinated, what do you care? Because the vaccinated could give it to other people. Once again, nature will mess you up because nature's going to do what nature does. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. A lot of stuff still to squeeze into. Are you ready? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The Sandy Hook families of that awful, awful, horrific day, of that hateful act by, what's his name, Adam Lanza, whatever his name was. What a horrible human being he was. Have come to a settlement. So Remington Arms agreed Tuesday to liability claims for families of 5 adults and 4 children killed in the massacre at Sandy Hook. This is a first. The gun manufacturers have been held liable for mass shootings. Settlement comes nearly 8 years after the family sued the maker of the Bushmaster XM15 E2S semi-automatic rifle that was used in the Newtown, Connecticut shooting. Remember, he fatally shot 20 first graders and 6 staff members in the course of just under 270 seconds. Lanza used the Remington version of the AR-15 assault rifle, which is substantially similar to the standard issue M16. The families argue Remington negligently entrusted civilians, consumers, to use an assault-style rifle that is suitable for only use by military and law enforcement personnel and violated the Connecticut Unfair Trade Practices Act through the sale of wrongfully marketing the rifle. That's a question right there. Does that leave litigation open up to everything? You sold me a car that was too fast. You wrongfully marketed the car to me as that. Well, Chad, that's a different kind of, or what about drink? I think it's a slippery slope. Because now what you're saying is the maker of said product could be, if the user of said product, right, could be liable for their actions. That, to me, is scary. And we all admit it was awful and it was horrible. It was the most vile thing I can remember. Not too many things in this business make you sick, you know, because you can't, if you're really in this thing, it's tough, man. There's a lot of things I've always said, you know, there's things in life you want to remember, right? You know, the birth of your children, you know, first steps, you know, first love, jobs, the whole 9 years. And there are things in this thing you will never forget. They're not the same. They're not. And that day was horrific. And having at the time when this took place, a little one, Jack, who at the time I think was 1.5, maybe heading towards 2. Yeah, no. It makes you sick. That being said, is now everybody who goes out and are we going to sue every manufacturer of guns? You know, it's like people say, well, we need to hold them liable. Why? Because people are bad actors? That you can't, that to me is insane. Now, if they're making a gun that will hypnotize you and they're like, man, we know that if this gun gets in the hands of certain people, it can hypnotize them to go kill a bunch of people, and they've hidden that from people. Well, then, yes, they're liable. But if somebody goes, as he did, and kills his mom, raids the gun thing, and takes off and does this, it's tough, right? Like if you rob a bank and you steal a car, and the car you steal is a super fast car, and it's been marketed as such, and then you end up killing people while driving, are you liable in saying, hey, they marketed it as a fast car? He said he took the car because he knew it was fast. Questions? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Let's look at some tweets of people who love and hate me, mostly hate. Always amazed how angry people could be on Twitter over people you will never meet. Like I say, I try to get to everybody. Linda writes, this is the talk show I was referring to a couple days ago that many of us have stopped listening to here in Phoenix. He does promos for the nut job Mike Lindell. And the dude pretty much supported the insurrection and tries to praise Kyrsten Sinema. I have praised Kyrsten Sinema for blocking the killing of the filibuster, and I will continue to do so. She's one of the most independent senators they have. We don't have enough of those. The insurrection was insanity. We've talked about that over and over again. There were a few there that were in for an insurrection and a lot of people that were just idiots. So settle down, right? But what did we talk about earlier? This is the new "you're a racist bad person" is invoking January 6th in any way, shape, or form. Makes me laugh. It does. Somebody tweets out, Chad, do you think they'll arrest Hillary for the spying stuff? We haven't talked much about the spying stuff. I may touch on it in a minute. I will tell you this, though. Let me give you my summary of everything. And this is the way this goes. It's like a drug thing, right? The low-level dealer on the street, he doesn't know who's growing it. He doesn't know who's got $50 billion. He doesn't know any of those things. He just gets it from somebody else who gets it from somebody else. Hillary will probably never see a courtroom, even though the stuff in there is pretty damning. And for all the talk of insurrection and craziness, you have somebody who gave other people marching orders who then went out and hired other people who hired other people. Getting back to her, just like with Trump. And we got him now. The reality is probably never going to see a courtroom, regardless of what comes out of these. Oh, his tax people are stepping away. They lied. They lied about what stuff was valued. Again, it's everybody CYAing himself. They're never going to see a courtroom. They're never going to see jail. For all the nobody's above law, there are certain people out there that truly get to live above it. They're not normal people. They don't go to the airport and get on a regular airplane. They haven't driven cars for 30 years because they don't have to. They have people with them 24/7 protecting them. They do live a different life. And it's sad to say that, but that's just the reality of it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Whoopi Goldberg made her triumphant return.
Hello and welcome to The View. And yes, I am back.
And we missed you.
And I missed you all too. I got to tell you, there's something kind of marvelous about being on a show like this because we are The View and this is what we do. And sometimes we don't do it as elegantly as we could. I want to thank everybody who reached out while I was away. And I'm telling you, people reached out from places that made me go, wait, what? Really?
Yeah. Oh, she's back. She's back. I like what she said here. I do.
I listened to everything everybody had to say, and I was very grateful, and I hope it keeps all the important conversations happening because we're going to keep having tough conversations.
Yeah.
And in part because this is what we've been hired to do. And it's not always pretty, as I said, and it's not always as other people would like to hear. But it is an honor to sit at this table and be able to have these conversations because they're important.
Not that I watch The View, because basically it's just a bunch of, it's like, you know what it is? I always say it's like, it's a bad PTA meeting meets a Starbucks conversation with people from the YMCA yoga. It's not very nice, Chad. Just throwing it out there. It's kind of what it is. Again, it's not very nice. But have important conversations. But you can't have important conversations if you're going to look at the other person who you're trying to have a conversation with and you say, hey, racism, hey, sexism, misogyny, January 6th, whatever it is. If you're interested in a conversation, we should definitely do that. But if the only reason you want to have a conversation is to demean and then attack somebody, well, that's not a conversation. You're just out for punishment. You're out for punishment. 100%. And that's part of the virtue signaling side of things. Numerous scholars and numerous historians have talked about in the past that, hey, if you give somebody the opportunity for essentially having revenge or to punish people because they've done morally something wrong, people are more apt to do that because everybody thinks they're without sin. And as we all know, that's not true. It's not. So I'm fine with more conversations. I think we need more conversations. Do we ever get conversations? No, not so much. Because people aren't really interested in those. They're just interested in the fight and trying to win points for their team, of which I'm still never really sure what their team gets. But the reality is there's apparently points out there that we're not being told about. Speaking of points, people have every right. We were talking earlier about Valieva. She's the Olympian that won, and we should be pissed, right? Because I'm all for, if we want to have Olympics that's just totally fair, just let them all dope. Chad, there's nothing wrong with that. But the girl that shouldn't be in the Olympics qualified today for the program to get into the finals of the figure skating.
When she took to that ice, she attempts things that no one else attempts. She hits quads, but she also fell on one jump uncharacteristically. And I have to say, at the end, she became emotional. She was crying, and you could just feel the emotion. I mean, so much pressure for a 15-year-old.
Yeah. I don't blame her. I mean, she's in a corrupt system that does corrupt things in Russia, and that's evident across the board. I don't blame her at all. But the fact that she's there should be a travesty to sport. It should be showing everything. And everyone wants to come out, oh, what about Lance Armstrong? That's the big thing, right? It's always about Lance.
Is this the reason why she's the world's greatest figure skater? I don't think so. You know, this is the same thing of, did Lance Armstrong win 7 Tour de France's because he was doping? Well, everyone else was doping.
Yeah. That's the big thing. Because you go back and look at when they, first of all, Lance did 2 things. One thing is he punished people that tried to come out and say things about him. Usually people that got caught and weren't as good as him. But the way he went about it was just vile. Secondly, he's an American that came into a sport and destroyed everybody. And that was not a good look. The French did not like that. European racing did not like that. But when you go and see that they took we're taking your Tour de France away. Okay, fine. They're down to like the 5th or 6th guy. Oh, these guys all doped. Oh, my Lord. It's crazy. That's why baseball, I don't know if you guys saw this last week, baseball said, we're not going to check for steroids anymore. Nobody wants to watch a 1-0 game. We like it when guys are the size of Paul Bunyan and just tear trees out of the ground and hit home runs. Because chicks dig the long ball. So if you see baseball this year and you go, hey, my favorite player was 6'1", 190 pounds, is now 6'1", 240 pounds, and his hat doesn't fit, know that maybe stuff's happening. Just saying. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com/Chad. It's any pet food better. I give it to my dogs every day. It's a supplement, goes on top of my dog's food. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9. It's incredible. Helps with their skin, helps with their energy, helps my older dog with his arthritis. He's happier and healthier than he's ever been, and I am loving that. Right now, Rough Greens wants to give you a bag for free. That's right, free. Doesn't get any easier than that. You cover the cost of shipping. They send you a bag for free. You try it out. No harm, no foul. If you don't like it, well, then you're like, well, my dogs don't really like it. But if you do like it, which I know you're going to go, this is a win. Try it right now. A bag for free. ruffgreens.com/Chad. Ruffgreens.com/Chad. Or call 833-MY-DOG-77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Welcome to Chad. No, not the country. The institution. The Chad Benson Show.
Snapper from under center. Steps back. Throws the fade. Back shoulder. Cooper Kupp's got it. Cooper Kupp brings it in. Touchdown. Touchdown. Touchdown, LA.
The Rams won, and so did the NFL. According to the overnight ratings, are finally out Huge win for the NFL. Broadcast 99.18 million viewers. Additionally, over 1 million viewers on Telemundo for the over-air tally of 100+ million viewers. Now, there was streaming, Peacock, and other digital outlets. They're still to come. They'll probably add somewhere between 7 and 10 million viewers. That's up 8% over last year's game, which brought in 92 million for CBS and 96 million total across all platforms. It is the most watched single telecast in 2 years, the 2020 edition of the game. That averaged 113 million across everything for Fox. So, the number one in viewers all time, 114.44 million. And that was 2015 Super Bowl. So, a win! And yet still nobody watched the Olympics. Coming up next, monobob. What? Yeah. Wait, you have a bobsled, but you couldn't get 3 other people to go with you? Nope. So I got to do it by myself. It's the monobob, kids. Oh, my Lord. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from you. Some of the troops are going where?
Russia's defense ministry has said troops from its southern and western military districts that are massed near Ukraine will begin returning to base today, having completed what it called exercises. Russian state media is airing video it says shows tanks pulling back. There are still Russian exercises happening in neighboring Belarus and the Black Sea. It's still too early to say, but if confirmed, this would potentially be a sign pointing towards de-escalation.
Yep, and Putin is now signaling that he would like to speak with the West, in particular the United States. We'll see what comes out of it. Again, he is the king of misinformation, disinformation, but he can't come back empty-handed. So what will come of it? I don't know. U.S. and NATO have agreed to discuss a range of security measures that Russia had previously proposed, and that's a big portion of what this is about with the Ukraine and the security measures. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he plays this thing out. But at least from now, the thought of a military attack seems to at least have been put on, I don't want to say hold, but if it was at a level 4, they've moved it back down to a level 2. Not everybody's going home. But could there be a diplomatic way out of it? And could there be a diplomatic way out of it where the Ukraine may have to give up something land-wise? That's a possibility as well. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the programs, Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Rope-a-dope? Could it have happened? The possibility is there. Did somebody blink? Possibility is there. Did Moscow signal that they're ready to make a move that has nothing to do with invading the Ukraine and all about de-escalation?
Moscow is already claiming a victory over what is repeatedly called Western hysteria. A foreign ministry spokeswoman with a characteristically blustery statement has said that February 15, 2022 will go down in history as the day Western war propaganda failed. They've been disgraced and destroyed without a single shot being fired. But that vote sure has made things a little more tense.
Vote? They voted? What? Wait, how? What do they vote on?
Tuesday may offer the world the biggest clue as to what Vladimir Putin intends to do in Ukraine. There will be a vote in the lower house of parliament to decide whether or not to grant independence to Russian-backed rebel areas of Ukraine. Now, if this vote goes ahead, it could be a sign that Russia is laying the groundwork for war. If not, and Russia delays, well, it could be a sign that they have no intention to invade that country.
Now, just to let you know, there are Russian separatists that since 2014 have been fighting on the border right there of the Ukraine. So you're going to grant them their own little world, which will probably allow you to annex part of that country and give you a straight shot to the port, because that's a very Russian thing to do. Everybody's waiting for them to fight. You don't move that many people unless you have an actual plan of doing something. Now, one of the reasons that this is all going on, first of all, he is the king of propaganda. There is nobody better. This guy wrote the book. He wrote every book about propaganda in the modern world that we live in today. He studied everybody. He studied the Nazis way back in the day. He studied everybody going back all the way to early times when propaganda and misinformation was used. And then he took it all together and made the book. And that's why he led the KGB. The guy is he's a stone cold killer, I believe this president called him. Yes, but his misinformation, his disinformation, his weakening from within there's nobody on this planet right now that does it anywhere near this. The Chinese? Nah. Us? Nah. No. Because he plays by rules that he makes, and he is just, the Chinese aren't, we play with weird rules moralistically that he didn't follow. The Chinese just don't have the skill level that he has. So you've got that. The other thing is, right? So Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, and Putin, they said the U.S. and NATO rejected Moscow's demand to keep the Ukraine and other Soviet nations out of NATO. So NATO, for those of you not keeping score, is something we're all involved in, right? North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Essentially it was put in place to make sure that the insanity of what we saw in World War II, that there was not a spread of communism, that we're going to protect each other, those kind of things, just throw it out there. What they wanted to do was bring some of these former nations in, Ukraine being one of them. Moscow demands to keep the Ukraine and other ex-nations out of NATO, halt weapons deployment near Russian borders, and roll back alliance forces from Eastern Europe. Seeing it from his point of view. Oh, it's because you're a Russian stooge. No, just think about this for a second. What did we do in, say, I don't know, a certain time in the 60s? That was Cuba. And the Russians are like, hey, Cuba's our friend. Why don't we put some weapons there that can reach the United States? What did we do? We said, hold on a second. That can't happen. And we had a situation that got extremely tense. Very, very tense. Building up to several hours of absolute kind of scenario. So understandable that you wouldn't want weapons like that deployed that close to your border. But there's more to it. Because he wants to be able to get to the port in Crimea. And to do that, he needs land. Right now, he doesn't have that. So there's a lot to this. And the other thing is, it's a great way for him to stand up and to look at the Western world and go, what do you think of that? That's what he's doing. As of now, calming some things down. As of now, taking a deep breath. Doesn't mean that stuff still can't happen, because as we know, for all the things we know about Putin, uncertainty is the number one thing that we know about Putin. Uncertainty. If you think that you're certain that he's going to do something, don't be surprised if he does something else. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. all of that going on, there's some other stuff that this will play into. One of those things is a thing called gasoline.
Well, gas prices are still climbing across the country and could surge even higher because of the global crisis we've been talking about on this show, including mostly the tensions between Russia and Ukraine.
Add gas prices to the list of surging costs weighing on Americans' wallets.
The price has been a little bit more each time.
The national average now around $3.44 a gallon, up more than $1 from a year ago, and the highest since 2014.
It's just like, damn, like it changes the way I pump gas.
Yeah, changes the way a lot of people pump gas. Now, gas fell on the news of this, which is good. Gas is down about $4 today, closing in on that $90 range, getting close to $97. A lot of people are worried that an explosion of war and tensions are going to shoot the prices through the roof, which is a distinct possibility if that happened. And because these markets are volatile, it doesn't take a lot to move these markets fast.
Gas prices have been surging for 14 months, only briefly dipping during Omicron. Demand is back at pre-pandemic levels. Even AAA can't explain that.
They're trying to kind of figure it out right now.
And the conflict on the Ukrainian border is adding a new strain. Russia is the world's second largest oil producer. If the crisis escalates, JP Morgan says oil prices could soar from $91 a barrel to $120.
If we were to see Russia potentially withhold energy exports, the question would be who could make up for that?
Well, we can't at this point in time. A lot of reasons. One is we're not lending money to fracking companies to frack. Secondly, we're just not pumping as much as we did in the past because we don't need to. With prices this high, people are making money hand over fist. So there's no reason to uncork some of those, wells, because eventually what happens is when prices go down so low, there's no reason to produce oil because every time you pull a barrel of oil out of the ground, it costs you money. So you basically put a lid on it, even though you know it's a working well and it's got oil in it. So there's a lot of things to go into it. We're not going to make that up, right? OPEC's probably not going to make that up. So that is going to cause a problem. This de-escalation is going to help, but one thing you heard on there, and we've talked about, is we're back at the point where we're consuming as much as we did pre-pandemic. Now throw in all of the other stuff that's going on, and you start to see that we are struggling. So this alone, while it may divert $5, $6, $7 a gallon gas, who knows what, if the Ukraine-Russia thing slows down, it's not going to get you down to $2 a gallon. It isn't. And all of that plays a part in the fact that inflation is once again on the rise, up again. We're closing in on almost 10%. In some cities, it is 10%. In other cities, it is lower. But the Consumer Price Index made a massive jump again, year to year. That matters because why? Because you and I are both doing what? We're going out. We're spending money. And in spending money, even if it's for the bare necessities, you're seeing that it is continually adding on. It's not my groceries are $100 last year. Now they're $110. Now it's my groceries are $145 and I didn't get as much as I did last year because it's compounding on top of each other. And we feel that. And that's not going away anytime soon. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot of stuff still to squeeze into on this fine show. You can tweet at us. Check out all of our social media stuff and junk and whatnot. Nutrisystem. It's great. Every day came in. Today I had my chocolate fudge shake, and it was delicious. It was delicious. Oh, they only get you shakes? No, that's just what I chose to have today. I've got snacks. I've got bars. I've got cookies. I've got the best lunch today. I'm having a little spaghetti and meatballs. I never feel hungry, which is awesome. Up to 30 grams of proteins, guys, per meal, extra. So you're not just getting stuff and go, oh, my God, it's awful. No, what you're getting is meals that taste great, and they're adding more protein to them, so you're not hungry. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, dessert, all of it delivered right to you. Boom. So easy to do. I'm down about 14, 15 pounds. Feel great, looking better, which is a win. which is a win. Let's be real. It's kind of what you want too, right? I want to lose weight, but I also want to look good doing it. And I want to make sure that I'm not hungry. Fits into anybody's lifestyle right now. 50% off. Boom. 50. How do you get it? Simple. Go to Nutrisystem.com/Chad right now. Save yourself 50% off. You're going to get delicious food, beef and bean burritos, toasted ravioli. On top of that, their advanced nutritional science is going to make sure that your blood sugar levels stay steady. What happens then? You lose weight. You're going to lose weight and eat great. Doesn't get better than that. 50% off right now. Nutrisystem.com/Chad. Nutrisystem.com/Chad. Results vary. Offer restrictions apply. See website for details. Chad Benson Show.
To be free. I am not a terrorist. I am not Antifa. I am not a sex slave that wears masks.
Don't be a cutie pie.
Probably sit around and cook some soups and eat bread and desserts and just get all fat and sassy.
You're ruining my life, Bob! Yeah, you haven't seen anything yet.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
The federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations.
That is the ever powerful and strong Trudeau. I'm joking. That guy's he's just very flopsy. So they've got the Emergency Act invoked. The Canadian truckers, we're taking him down. That's it. We're getting rid of him. We're coming for him. What? Yeah, they're coming for him hard. This is Canadian Deputy PM, that's Prime Minister, Christina Freeland, talking about how they're coming for them.
The government is issuing an order with immediate effect under the Emergencies Act, authorizing Canadian financial institutions to temporarily cease providing financial services where the institution suspects that an account is being used to further the illegal blockades and occupations. This order covers both personal and corporate accounts.
Translation: if you are giving money to them through, well, not GoFundMe, because they only, you've got to burn a whole city down and kill people before they go, okay, now we'll give them money. What are you talking about, Chad? But if you're giving money to them in any way, shape, or form, they're going to suspend your accounts, freeze your assets. I'm not kidding. This is insane.
As of today, a bank or other financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order. In doing so, they will be protected against civil liability for actions taken in good faith. Federal government institutions will have a new broad authority to share relevant information with banks and other financial service providers to ensure that we can all work together to put a stop to the funding of these illegal blockades.
Look, it's a pain in the ass. There's no doubt about it. And it's hurting people on our side of the border, workers. But the disingenuousness of politicians and let's reach and grab more power. Now, if we deem what you are doing to be so egregious that we're going to be able to come in and take your financial world away from you, and even if we find out you did nothing wrong, you could do nothing to us because we were acting in good faith that we were doing the right thing. Why? Well, it's because they're anti-vaxxers, Chad. No, it's because of government overreach. So what does government do? Government overreaches more. That's what government does. Look, I'm a big believer that if you stop traffic and I've got somewhere to go, that I should no longer support you. I think we're all kind of that way. It's like, dude, you had me up until the point where it made me late. All that being said, there's no violence. Nothing's burning down. There's no crime going on. Oh, yes, Chad. They've arrested people for mischief. It's sad. It is. Now, supposedly our truckers who were supposed to do something at Super Bowl but didn't are going to start something March 1st. They have cleared the one bridge in Detroit that goes from Detroit to Ontario and brings them back and forth. I guess that's cleared. There's a couple other bridges that are minor that are currently being blockaded, but for all intents and purposes, it's been pretty cool. Oh, it's been funded by the crazy Russians and American white supremacists. Whatever. Enough. Again, that's the go-to now for everything. It's January 6th. We're going to touch on that in a little bit. That being said, it's not about anti-vax. Most of the truckers are vax. This right here is about overreach of government, people's exhaustion of emergency rules that people have used in their power from smaller bureaucratic idiots, in the health departments across the board to governors. This is what this is about. We should all be frustrated. But the media has painted it in such a way that basically everybody driving a truck is a white supremacist. And what are they full? And what are they hollering? They're hollering hate, Chad. So they've given themselves power to shut down your financial world. Nice. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Did the pooter capitulate? That's the Putin for you guys. We call him the pooter here. Did he capitulate? Signaling that he's willing to have conversations with European and, of course, U.S. diplomats about a quiet and hopefully peaceful end to the standoff in the Ukraine. He's claiming victory. That's what he does. Again, he's the king of propaganda. There is nobody better. There may have never, ever in the time before him. You can go back and look at Goebbels and the propaganda machine that they ran. The Soviets weren't great at it. Originally Russia wasn't great at it. They were, but they tried. But this guy has become the master class, if you will, in propaganda, disinformation. So back home, it's a victory. But is it really a victory? Well, it's still not over, but at least for the moment, it doesn't look like it's happening this second where there could be a possible invasion. But there's always more to come because, well, he is the pooter. And sometimes when you think all is well and that they have come to some sort of agreement and that cooler, calmer heads have prevailed, out of nowhere, he does what he does.
Citing the Russian threat here, the U.S. has closed its embassy in Kiev and removed remaining personnel to the western Ukrainian city of Lviv, staff destroying classified material and equipment. Today, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin travels to the region to meet with his NATO counterparts and reaffirm U.S. support.
Why is that important that we closed? Because he's citing this as hysteria. This is all built up. None of this is real. It's all make-believe, which could always be a part of Putin's plan. Make him think like we're attacking. Get everything ready like we're attacking. We've already done it. Sow seeds of mistrust and distrust. Sow seeds of anger and division inside of the Ukraine. Let's rot it from the outside. Let's get them pissed at the West saying we wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for you. And then back off. But he still has to come home with something other than, well, they say they're not going to put missiles there. Because there's stuff that he wants. So, not over yet, but making movements toward it. 323-538-25 2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Crime is up. People know that. What took place in New York over the weekend has got people in New York going, what? Because, yes, a brutal murder took place.
A community gripped with grief after the brutal murder of 35-year-old creative producer Christina Yuna Lee, her alleged killer appearing in court late Monday. Authorities say security camera images, now part of their investigation, capture the suspect, 25-year-old Asamad Nash, following Lee into her Manhattan building early Sunday morning, grabbing a knife from her kitchen before fatally stabbing her multiple times in her apartment.
40 to be exact. 40. What we've seen is a rise in violent crime across the country, in particular blue states and blue cities. New poll out today in California says that the thing that is plaguing Gavin Newsom the most is crime. Not just, absolute insane, in-your-face, stealing things from stores and craziness, but brutal crime that is happening. And a lack of want by prosecutors in these big cities across the country to prosecute anybody, and the fact that many of these people have a long rap sheet, including this clown.
Nash trying to flee from the fire escape, taken into custody after a brief standoff with police. Officials say he is homeless, out on supervised release on 3 open cases, including one where he allegedly punched a stranger on the subway. He also has an extensive criminal history in New Jersey. Nash now facing murder, burglary, and sexually motivated burglary charges. So far, he has not been charged with a hate crime.
Why is he out again? Who's supervising him? Out of curiosity, who's supervising him? We touched on it last week that, and over the last several weeks, San Jose last year, they let out 3 people who were murder suspects, and they're like, well, we can't find them. What? No, this is my oh my God face. Yeah, we think they went to Mexico. No, what? No bail. Let him out. Look, here's the problem I have with so many of these crazy things, right? So you've got George Gascon in Los Angeles, who's just he's the poster boy for this stuff. We cannot prosecute our way out of these. He's the DA there who ruined San Francisco, then handed it over to his friend that is now Chesa Bodine running them into the ground. Woke DA Bragg in New York, who came out with, hey, we're not going to put people in jail or arrest people for little petty crimes, which then at that point, they're not even crimes, right? They're just whatever. But then he backed away because people were like, hey, you know what? No, that's not, this is not who we're going to be here. And luckily, there's a mayor in New York, while a Democrat, former cop, is not a fan of crime. But why can't we have common sense? That's my thing. And sometimes powers that be, meaning lobbyists and stuff, get in the way and they screw it up. But more often than not, I'm just amazed. I mean, last week we were talking about it, right? Remember Al Sharpton? Al Sharpton goes on MSNBC last week. He's not thrilled by all the things that are happening in New York. And this is pre this murder. Right? And he's a little bit pissed.
You cannot have a culture where people are just at random, just robbing and stealing, and is out of control and is put on the front page of newspapers, which only encourages others to do it. In fairness to Eric, he's only been mayor 5 weeks, but even as unfair to him, Eric, they're locking up my toothpaste.
And he got hammered for that. It was a Hannah Cole Jones, a 1619 project came out. Oh, you just want to perpetrate the incarceration community and industry and blah, 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 blah. No. This is the breakdown of society. Continuing to release people who are bad people, who get released so many times they feel they have absolutely no way of being punished. They feel like they have a right to do whatever it is that they want to do. And homeless is not homeless. What is that supposed to mean? When you think of somebody who's homeless, right, when you go back in the day, I was like, it's a single mom, right, or a dad. You know, it's like the guy that's the player for the Raiders. I think Jacobs is his name, the running back. His dad had a job. They couldn't afford to make ends meet. They stayed in the car several nights a month, and they would stay in a hotel or a friend's place, and he would stay up at night, and he was there with them, and he wasn't on drugs, but he was trying to survive and keep. That, to me, somebody's homeless. These people are junkies, and they're mentally ill. Which came first, I don't know. But they lead to the same place. But allowing them to rule the streets because you have some woke agenda isn't going to cut it for America. And then allowing people who aren't junkies or homeless to steal whatever they want isn't going to make America a better place. Do I think that somebody needs to go to jail forever over weed? No, that's the dumbest thing. That is. Do I think if somebody's really stealing food because they need to feed their family, which we all know is a bunch of crap? No, that's the dumbest thing. But it's all or nothing, and there's no common sense, and there's no more like grounds for, hey, you know what? Here's the reality of it. Like this person here, he made a mistake or she made a mistake, and you can look at him and say, this person doesn't need to be on $25,000 bond and lose her job and her car and get no. But this person's been arrested 12 times in the last month. I think we have a problem here. But common sense has gone out the window when it comes to crime. It's all or nothing, right? The other day, here's a perfect example of just bloviating insanity. And it's AOC. She comes out and she's like, well, there's a reason the crime is up. It's because we let the child tax credits expire. So this is why the guy stabbed this lady 40 times and sexually assaulted her in her home, is because his child tax credits, of which he's probably not taking advantage of, expired. This is why toothpaste is locked up in New York City, San Francisco, because the child tax credits expired. Oh, God. Do you often want, I go back to, it's who votes for these people? Why don't you really hold people accountable? Why don't you ask them no questions? What's your thought on crime? How do you give people the opportunity to rejoin society and get help without saying, hey, do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want? There'll be zero repercussions. They never have an answer. Their answer is always whatever side's trying to do. Throw away the key and lock them up forever, or the insanity of the only reason they're doing this is because they're feeding their family and they have no child tax credit. So they're the victims, really. Good God. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. You hear me talk about it all the time. Give it to my dog Doodle. I'll tell you about my dog Doodle. About 2.5, 3 years ago, he couldn't run. He just kind of sat there. No matter what we did, we'd have to take him to the vet. His hips were bad. He could barely walk at times. And we thought about putting him to sleep because we had a little one and he would nip at her or anybody else that got near him. Here we are. We've been giving him Rough Greens for about 2.5 years now. He's healthy. He's happy. He's bouncy. His hips don't hurt. His skin is great comparatively to the times before when, the allergy season would come along and he would dander and he's scratching all the time. None of that stuff anymore. We didn't change anything other than giving him Rough Greens. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-369, little supplement on top of the dog's food. Boom. Changed everything. They want to give you a chance to try it before you buy it. You cover the cost of shipping. It's a few bucks. They're going to send you a bag for free. That's simple. You can call them directly at 833-MyDog77 or go to roughgreens.com/Chad, roughgreens.com/Chad. You cover the cost of shipping. You get a bag for free. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. Chad Benson Show.
Serving up talk radio medium rare and dripping with irony. It's Chad Benson.
Oh, he was amazing. He was our favorite mayor last week. He got on the topic of ice fishing, less prostitution. It's just, I don't know. It's a dangerous step.
At a Hudson City Council workshop last week, the topic of ice fishing on a public lake came up, and Mayor Craig Schubert offered this.
If you then allow ice fishing with shanties, then that leads to another problem. Prostitution.
He couldn't cite examples, but said he had heard of that happening. After a week of international heckling, Schubert says he was trying to inject dry humor into the meeting, but that he's handing in his gavel.
Oh, by the way, if you're going to do this humor thing, you got to go full bore. You're like, first it starts with ice fishing, right? Like we're just fishing on the lake regularly. And then one day you decide to go on a boat. You're having fun on the boat. You're fishing. Then the water freezes over, and you're like, you know what? We could walk out there and cut a little hole in it and fish. And you're like, you know what? I want to be out here longer because it's cold. Then you bring out your little ice cabin, fish in, right? Then you're like, this isn't good enough. Let's build a shanty. And then all of a sudden you have a shanty. And then you're like, I could use some companionship. But nobody likes me. But I make good money, so I can buy a hooker. Maybe I can get it with a hook, line, and sinker. I don't know. That's humor that you should go with, sir. What you were doing was God only knows. We will miss you and your craziness. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Oh, my Lord. You know, the other night, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, the NFL had a Super Bowl. 112 million now. All the data is coming in. It's flowing in. Looks like 112 million people viewed said game. That includes the people that also streamed the game. But what I did notice was there were a lot of people there. Remember, they were going to invoke all this stuff. You guys understand, and we still have an emergency order here in California. And Los Angeles is one of those places. So to get into the Super Bowl, and producer Anthony will remember this, and Phil, I wish you were there, but you didn't. So to get into the Super Bowl was kind of like the convention in Cleveland. So to go to the Republican convention, you went through and you got in, but you weren't in. But you were in. You didn't have to show your cards and stuff anymore, but you got in the place, and then it was like stuff going on, and then you could walk into the place. Kind of what it was like there. Nobody was checking for anything. Nobody was checking for your mask. Very few people got asked if they had, a vaccine passport or a negative test, any of those stuff. But when you got inside, right, the big thing was, are people going to be wearing masks? Nobody was wearing a mask. Not a soul. Oh, there was a few people, right, that are on the sidelines that are wearing masks. But, I mean, as far as the fans, my buddy was there, and he said, to go up to the concession stand, it said no mask, no service, essentially. So everybody was sitting there talking, and the minute they got up to their point, they put their mask on, ask them for whatever it is, pay for it, take their mask off, and go back to their seat. That's how stupid it was. All that being said, tons of text messages coming through saying, Chad, are you watching? Yes. But I looked at a lot of tweets from teachers, and they were pissed because their kids are stuck in masks, as are they when they've had enough. And this just isn't California, it's nationwide.
Even though masks will be able to come off in most counties here tomorrow, the state is not rescinding mask rules for schools in California. That has some parents and Republican lawmakers angry, especially after Sunday's nearly maskless Super Bowl. But California Health and Human Services Secretary Dr. Mark Galley says they will reassess at the end of the month, and maybe then school masks can come off.
In 2 weeks, confirming that the data continues to be where it is.
But big teachers unions say they want masks to remain on in classrooms.
Yeah, because they're idiots. It's about power. It's about control. It's never about the kids. Whatever the teachers unions say, it's about the kids. It's not. It's about you. It's about your power that you can exert over the Democratic Party in these cities. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. You saw it in Chicago, right? Remember Chicago? It was like, we're shutting down schools because we're worried. People are over it. Remember who these kids are, first of all, from a human standpoint. Secondly, remember who their parents are, because their parents are customers. Customers that will change course if they're smart and say, we can't have this anymore. They're not giving up this nightmarish, bizarre world of zero COVID they're going to enforce it. And until the teachers start to stand up or you start voting people out, they're going to continue to flex their muscles. And it's a shame. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Solid, fun show. Got you through the day. That's what we try to do. We're going to do it again tomorrow with it being Tuesday. Get yourself a taco. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.